and welcome to the 101st edition of Marex Maritime News. The headlines on Monday, 17th of January 2022. OMICRON outbreaks sends jitters to supply chains in China. Indonesia eases coal export ban. IMO supports electronic data exchange in Nigeria's ports. Can nuclear power plants decarbonize shipping? An Omicron outbreak in China is sending jitters through supply chains as manufacturers and shippers brace for disruption inside the world's biggest trading nation if it can't contain the fast-spreading variant. Will this cause an adverse effect in Asian markets?
The industry is set to make more than Apple and Microsoft combined. Globally, it is estimated worth $190 billion in operating profits compared to Apple $109 billion and Microsoft about $70 billion. The financial transformation of the container shipping industry has been astonishing. Port congestion wrought by the pandemic has been terrible, but it's meant the container lines can charge pretty much whatever they want for cargo space. It looks increasingly like 2022 will deliver a similar bounty. China finds Omicron in the third known port city, Dalian, further threatening supply chains. Shipping congestion is growing at world's biggest port. Ships en route from Ningbo port to avoid trucker snarls. Congestion grows at ports as ships divert to Shanghai and Xiamen. Mounting congestion at the world's largest port in China may cause a massive blow to already weakened global supply chain. The increase of outbreaks paired with strict testing protocols is leaving ports understaffed. The rapid spread of the Omicron variant is leading to yet another wave of global supply chain backlogs that experts warn could be even worse than in previous months. Congestion is mounting at the world's largest container port in Shanghai as ships reroute to the location to avoid bottlenecks at nearby facilities that have suspended or limited operations due to COVID-19 outbreaks. The backlogs have been exacerbated by an increase of outbreaks across the country, leaving many ports and freight companies understaffed and functioning at reduced capacity. Many companies have started mandating strict testing protocols in advance of the Chinese New Year on 1st of February, further slowing operations. An outbreak in Shenzhen, for example, has left a queue of ships as workers seek treatment and testing, leading officials to start restricting goods from entering the port. In Tianjin, trucking capacity is estimated to be running at half its standard output after workers were ordered to take a half day off work for required testing. Drivers are required to be tested daily before entering the port, said the freight forwarder Zen Cargo. The delays could contribute to the mother of all supply chain stumbles, given China's significant role in global trade. The Omicron variant is potent enough to deprive Asia's factory of a critical number of workers, creating a scenario that will be hugely disruptive. A rapid spread of Omicron across Asia, from Korea to India and mainland China to Indonesia, raises the risk of major production disruptions. The disruption at ports across Asia also comes as the US continues to battle historic congestion at its large ports in Southern California. The rise in COVID-19 infection has left an estimated 800 dock workers ill last week, further slowing operations and contributing to port backlogs. Better hold tight. Looks like things will be volatile for a while. Shipping firms are making the switch to avoid delays at nearby Ningbo, which suspended some trucking services near that port after an outbreak of COVID-19, according to freight forwarders and experts. Ships are also rerouting to Xiamen in the south. Shanghai and Xiamen port calls increase as ships reroute from Ningbo. Those diversions are adding to the new wave of congestion facing China's ports, as an increasing number of cities deal with virus outbreaks. The strict testing of workers and truckers ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday on 1st February is further stressing already strained supply chains as the pandemic heads into its third year. In the country's technology hub of Shenzhen in the south, testing of residents and truckers to contain an outbreak means a queue of ships has formed at the port. That's caused the Shekou terminal to start restricting the acceptance of goods, meaning that from Friday, full containers can only be trucked in 3 days before vessels are due to arrive, the terminal operator said. That outbreak has now spread to the port city of Dalian, with 2 people who traveled there from Tianjin confirmed to have OMICRON. The influx of ships into Shanghai has delayed sailing schedules for container ships there by about a week, said freight forwarders. Those delays may then ripple outward to already backlogged gateways in the US and Europe. Ships could start skipping Chinese ports soon due to a lack of options, according to Zen Cargo. The port congestion issue will continue to impact restocking cycles this quarter, alongside the Omicron breakout and the impending Chinese New Year. In China closures, said logistics intelligence firm Project 44. However, it is hard not to be worried about China, a country that is responsible for about 50% of shipping demand across the main sectors. Is the slowdown temporary and cyclical, or it is persistent and structural? We do not have the answer. Its zero COVID policy that is seeing huge cities such as Xi'an and Tianjin. Some even report that 4 cities are under lockdown. The real estate markets and the companies are not in the pink of health in China. China is walking into middle income trap. The real estate giant Evergrande has been forced to sell their multi-rise corporate building due to bad debts. The booming container sector, which continues into 2022, saw Maersk's upwardly revised 2021 earnings of $24 billion, up from an earlier $22 to $23 billion estimate only 2 months ago. Is the rest of the world waking up to a post-COVID future? President Xi Jinping's government is considering lowering China's 2022 economic growth target to 5.5% from 2021 goal of 6% or more. Fresh data out of China continue to paint a troubling picture in the world's new number 2 economy. With home prices slumping, retail sales growth slowing, and unemployment inching up, the property market will deteriorate in the first half of 2022. Land sales have dropped by between 30% and 50% compared to the same period last year, while new construction projects have fallen by over 30%. We are at a situation where it isn't because Chinese people don't have the ability to spend money, but they are just not too willing to spend money. Stringent lockdowns to stop sporadic COVID-19 outbreaks across the country hampered consumption. But headwinds remain strong. The cooler property construction and new COVID outbreaks have forced some factory shutdowns in Zhejiang province, a key industrial center near Shanghai. The economic stress is also showing up in the labor market, with the unemployment rate edging to 5% in November from 4.9% the month before. Fitch Ratings declared China Evergrande Group one of country's largest developers in default on bonds it issued overseas. It also labeled Kaisa Group a mid-sized developer in default. A number of other property companies have also failed to repay investors in recent weeks.
Indonesia, the world's biggest thermal coal exporter, surprised buyers at the start of the year by easing ban on overseas shipments, thus alleviating concerns about supply disruptions. The ban, which came into force on Jan 1st, triggered a rally in Australian and Chinese coal prices last week. IMO is supporting the government of Nigeria in its effort to develop a port community system (PCS) for electronic data exchange for its ports complex. PCS are mutual platforms that allow the exchange of electronic information between various stakeholders and have become an increasingly important part of simplifying cross-border trade. This will ensure that Nigerian ports benefit from an effective operational countrywide PCS to enhance the economy of the country. The use of nuclear power on ships stretches back decades, and nuclear power plants were installed on vessels before they were installed ashore. Nuclear propulsion has been in continuous military use for 70 years. The Palo Alto-based Electronic Power Research Institute (EPRI) researchers suggest that the shipbuilding industry's know-how could be combined with next-generation reactor technology to build floating fuel station at a fraction of the cost of shoreside plants.
Is nuclear fuel the future of the shipping industry? The most obvious option is to have a simple nuclear reactor on board vessels. The US Navy has had a 70-year flawless safety record in running nuclear-powered vessels, so that should not be a concern. The options that are being explored are to make the vessel a large heat storage facility, then supply heat to the vessel through nuclear power plants on the shore or floating nuclear power plants. This heat supplied to the vessel can then power the ship's energy needs. Taking this concept ahead, small vessels can even trail larger vessels with nuclear power plants. At the moment, these options are expensive, but the benefits? 5 billion barrels of oil to be potentially saved every year.
Definitely, the shipping industry should consider the nuclear options for decarbonizing. But one of the daunting talks which are there in the maritime sector will be the fuel supply chains of nuclear-based hydrogen ammonia production. The site selection of building nuclear power plants is also going to be burdened by the public perceptions at risk, because a power plant will have to be built on a permanently moved offshore installation. Then the code of safety for the nuclear merchant ships will have to be revised by the IMO with regard to radiation hazards. So, in short, nuclear power plants to decarbonize shipping can be a pathway to decarbonize the shipping sector in the years ahead. But additional research and development is definitely needed for the process, and this can be developed as an option leading to global transition away from the high polluting shipping fuels and finally paying the dividends for the world's economy.
Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you for watching. See you next Monday.